True, and we are live.
Hello everybody, welcome to day 4 of QuaranCon, but you probably already knew that because you've been watching us all day relentlessly. This is the swearing in SFF. As you already know, we are swearing friendly con. I don't know what that was, but obviously this is going to be an extra sweary panel, I would imagine. So if there are young people in the room that you don't want to hear, I suggest that you remove them now. Is that enough time to have removed them?
Sure. There's a delay.
So you're here, and in the words of Malcolm Tucker, I'm going to say come the fuck in or fuck the fuck off. So I think you already know where I stand on swearing. Before we get into it though, I'm just going to ask our lovely panelists to introduce themselves, state their position on swearing, and if they have a favourite swear word, they can tell you that too. And I will start with Patty.
Hi everyone, my name is Patricia Jackson. I'm the author of Forging a Nightmare, an urban fantasy that debuted in November from Angry Robot Books. I fucking love swearing. I think it makes you feel good. I think it brings your blood pressure down. And I just think it improves your general health. My favorite, I don't know, I'm gonna go with fuck and Quim. So there you go.
Do you know what, that Quim, I like that, you know, and I know there's a Loki reference in there as well that I'm sure you will expand on later, and how we should teach more people what it means. Okay, Rob.
My name is Rob Greene. I write as R.W.W. Greene because it's easier to Google. I'm an angry robot author, and my next book is coming out in May. It's called Mercury Rising.
Oh no.
I'm pro.
Sorry, no, noises in the background. Please keep going.
Yeah. No, I'm as when we asked about being pro or con, I decided that I'm constantly swearing personally. But when I'm writing, I try to make it situational.
Do you have a favorite swear word?
I think asshole is my favorite one because I find myself using it so often, if only in my head. It's a constant.
Okay, thank you. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Daley, J. Daley. I'm an angry robot author as well. My debut, Obsidian, I have it handy all over here, came out in January. I'm definitely pro swearing. I used to work as a chef in a kitchen, and it's a constant battle. I mean, it's a constant land of swearing. It's very, very fun. In my writing, though, I tend to sprinkle swear words in whenever it seems necessary. I find it lands a little harder if you have like one fuck out of just random, words. Anyway. But I have a favorite swear word. I gotta say, cunt is one of my favorite swear words, just because it sounds lovely. It's straight to the point, and I don't know. It just seems like an all-purpose general swear word.
Nice. Okay, and Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Cherry. I write contemporary and historical urban fantasy. And although I am published by DEF CON 1 and Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, I feel like I may need to pitch my next book to Angry Robot because what an amazing crew we've got here. I love lexicon as an aspect of world building. And so I am pro swearing when it works. I often will use the blue language to denote class distinctions or an escalation in tensions. So if you see a character I wrote who doesn't usually swear suddenly sit up in their seat at the opera and go, fuck, you know that something interesting is about to happen. My personal favorite swear word for daily use is damn, and all of its variations. God damn it, damnable, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Nice. Okay, and Virginia.
Hi, I'm Virginia McClain. I'm an indie published author and one of the founders of QuaranCon. My latest book, Cyro's Claw, is shiny and is the first book in my Gensokai series in which there are actual swear words, which is part of why I chose it for that to be held up. And my favorite swear word is, God, it's so hard to choose, but I recently pseudo invented a swear word, cockswazzle, which I started using on Twitter. I've decided it means it's the thing that you put into a penis to like get a sample of something. It's not actually, but that's what it is in my head. So, right? Does that just like sounds awful? And calling a person
well, the imagery is definitely there.
There you go. So everyone gets to enjoy that for a minute.
Writing that down
for a little while. Cockswaffle. Yeah, please introduce it to your lexicon. I would love for it to catch on.
We were talking earlier. I'm gonna write it on one of my
post-its. Yeah, excellent. Okay, I realize I've just forgotten to introduce myself. I think everybody kind of knows, although I forgot to do this in the last panel as well.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, Pam. Take a moment.
So I'm PS Livingstone. I am an editor, ghostwriter, and author. I'm finally getting around to publishing my own stuff as opposed to writing for everybody else, and that hopefully will be later on this year. It'll be nice to see things out in the world with my name on it instead of somebody else's. But yeah, so that's me. Okay, well, let's crack on. So why do you as a writer exclude or include swearing? I think we've kind of partially covered that in the topic. So I'll maybe expand that a little bit and just kind of go, is there a moment you can think of in your own writing where you're like, I had to include this and this is why, or I had the swearing in and I decided to take it out? Because I think you've covered the sort of main crux of that within your intros a little bit. So Sarah, do you want to start us off?
Sure. In my novel, I have a lot of swearing that is like religious based. Like with my own made up religion, you know, like I'll say, like the gods in the world are the four and the hidden. So everyone's like by the four, and you know, or there's another one like which is faces. It's like the faces of God are part of the religion. So they'll say faces, or faces turn to me, or faces spit on me, or something like that. But when something like really truly horrific happened, or like amazing that the characters thought was like crazy, I'll have someone say like fucking hells, because it's like the lowest hells are there you know, the hell and it's I don't use it very often because I use it for like really key moments, you know, and like people aren't dropping every once in a while they'll say fuck, but it's you can count those like real swear words, like our swear words on one hand, because I think in fantasy settings you got to be, well, at least in my fantasy books, you got to be kind of careful throwing in our vernacular, you know, like modern vernacular, and use a little more sparingly, because you don't want to take people out of your story, out of your world you've made. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's a valid point. And I'm going to come back to that point a little bit later on with some other questions, actually, because you touched on something there that I'm interested in. Virginia. So I've got one series that's a YA urban fantasy sort of parody, and the main character in that series swears as much as I do in real life, which is a lot. Yeah. and there've definitely been reviewers who have been like, there's too much swearing in this book, this isn't realistic, no teenager swears this much, and I'm like, really? Okay, having worked with teenagers, I know that's not true. And I think Patty will back me up on this.
Oh, and I taught high school
and Rob as well, actually, and a lot of teachers and educators in here.
So I was like, how many teenagers do you know? And clearly they're never their true selves in front of you. Anyway, so I thought that was kind of hilarious. But so that's where it does turn some readers off though. But I'm sort of just like, you know what, these are not the readers for this book, this series. So that's fine, you know, like that's just not for them. Meanwhile, in my Ginsokai books, the first two books are also young adult and not parody, very like epic fantasy, that's sort of the norm. The characters start out young, and it's also an alternate world. And I've set it up so the culture is such that like the main characters in the first two books don't swear pretty much at all. But not, and if they do, it's sort of like a more elaborate thing. But in the third book, I've got all adult main character POVs and a lot more swearing. But it's still not as much as the character who swears as much as I do. It's just way more, and it's culturally inappropriate, and the person who does it gets stared at a lot for the inappropriate expletives. So it's a weird balance for me, like between what I think is fun and interesting and what's going to possibly turn readers away. And I was totally okay with it with the series where that's absolutely like if you're not into someone swearing every couple sentences, then you're not the right reader for this book, this series, right?
Which is an absolutely valid point. Yeah.
Right, I was just like, these aren't my readers, it's fine. But versus like, the series that I think I don't want to turn those readers away, but I still want this character to be very sweary. So yeah.
Balance. Okay. Right. Patty, what do you think? I know you're gonna wait for this.
Oh, are you muted?
Muted.
Are you muted?
No.
No, I heard you that time. I don't know what happened before.
What Sarah said, I think using our conventional swear words in a fantasy sometimes can pluck a reader out of the world that you're trying to get them into. So I find that sometimes it's necessary to invent words that will go along, of course, with the words in our world, and your readers will learn that as you pick them up, but pick it up later. For my novel, Forging a Nightmare, I have angels that have a swear word from their Enochian, et cetera, et cetera. And I also created swear words for Star Wars, Sukoran, when I was working in that universe as well. But I'm also finding that I'm not as crazy if I have a dragon screaming fuck somewhere and reading a book. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll accept that. And then I'm back into the book. But if they do it too much, it really does make you feel like you're in a procedural, or you're with police officers, or you're with Marines. In Forging a Nightmare, the character who swears the most, she's Marine. And if you've ever been with the military, you know that ethics is the word. So yeah, it really depends on the time and the place and the situation.
Okay. Right. Okay. I'm going to come, Amanda. I'm going to ask you a slightly different question, if that's okay. I think that I suppose the people that maybe are turned off by swearing, and people sort of say, like Virginia, I didn't want to, put people away and things like that. I think that those people might feel that swearing is inherently negative. But characters or people use it for emphasis when they're excited. So in Scotland, for example, it's punctuation. If any of you have ever been here, especially in Glasgow, you'll know that. So how would you sort of turn, and I know you use it sparingly, but how would you turn the sort of negative ideas of swearing in your book into something that's maybe more positive, like, oh, this is exciting. I know you said this is a scary moment. You're sitting in the theatre and someone says, fuck. How would you use that to make it something that's not negative?
So the first thing is, words are just words. Words are not positive. Words are not negative. Words have no inherent value. The value lies in what we bring to our experience of the word. So there are words that are considered slurs only because they became in common use that way. There is a word that was the name of a famous stripper that was also a slur to refer to Romani persons. I will not say it out loud, but we all know what I'm talking about. I choose not to use it. But that word in and of itself is not a problem. The Broadway musical of that name is not a problem. So you have to give your readers credit for understanding what you're trying to say as a writer. One of the things I do in my contemporary fantasies, where we do have a lot of these modern vernacular swear words, because it takes place in a fictional city, but in the here and the now. My particular character is a supervillain, and she uses a lot of very colorful language that isn't necessarily swear words that as we see them. There's a place where she calls a guy a pusillanimous cretin. She could have called him a fucking cunt waffle, but she didn't. She chose other words. So that the audience gets to know what the character's speech patterns are, what the character's thought patterns are. That's involved by the backstory I gave her. That's involved by the job she has, by the industry she's in. You can see her code switch sometimes, depending on who she's talking to. So the audience gets into the head of that character and is hearing the vocabulary of that character as you travel through the story. So when 2 novels and a short story later, she does sit up in the opera box, grab her date's hand and yell, fuck. Like, you know that her choice to use fuck in that moment is an informed choice, and that she has all the words in the entire English language to draw on in that moment. And she chose that one for a reason. So I think you just have to give your audience credit for getting into your story and learning to understand how your character uses language. Virginia has those stories. And yeah, her character uses blue language a lot. And yes, that can be a turnoff, but if you use that as a vector through which to get to know the character and how they navigate the world, you stop seeing them as swear words and you just start seeing them as pieces of point of view.
Okay, that was a really good answer. Thanks, Amanda. That was great. Okay, Rob. Okay, words like fuck, shit, cunt, etc. predate Victorian times. We know that they do. Okay, so I think there's sort of this idea, not saying from you guys, but from you lot, but generally speaking, that this swearing is a modern concept, which it isn't. It's not a modern concept. It's been around a long time. So a lot of our kind of, and I think you raised this in our discussion, the idea about invented swear words were brought about to sort of fool the censors, especially sort of 70s and 80s, things like smeg. If you're all Red Dwarf fans, you'll know where that comes from. Frack, these things were done to fool the censors. So do you think that the objections to swearing are as a result of morals that we don't subscribe to in the same way anymore? I
think if parents really knew what the words meant in Romeo and Juliet, they wouldn't allow their students to study it at the high school level. I mean, their thumbs are being bitten, and there's an anal sex joke in the Mercutio Romeo.
Okay, I'm not going to do the mime for that one. Just to be clear.
Yeah, it's so I think some of it is a matter of we just don't understand the words anymore. I mean, you don't see the F-bomb in Shakespeare, but you do see a lot of other stuff. So I think that for some reason, and I think it's more of a modern thing, we've looked at those words and decided that those words are the bad words, and we can't remember any of the other bad words, so we'll let them fly, and I think those are the words that because they're considered the bad words and they're the words we've been banning for such a long time, they're going to continue to be the bad words for quite some time. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my take on that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's really interesting. Would anybody like to jump in to add anything to that?
I was going to make a comment about, I don't know if you ever watched the show Deadwood, but that took place, back in the 1800s. And in the show, they say cocksucker and motherfuckers and fucking cunts and all this stuff. And at the time, back when the actual Deadwood existed, the worst swear words were goddamn and shit and things like that. And they decided, they're like, on today's ears, audience's ears, that's just not, it doesn't bring about how much these people swore back then, how bad it was swearing. Because everyone, goddamn and that kind of stuff is just you hear that kind of stuff on regular TV during the daytime. It's not that big a deal anymore. So it really is all a matter of what's bad to the current climate, the current age. You know what I mean?
You have to consider the audience a little too. There are words that an American audience will go, and a UK audience will just let roll off their water off a duck's back. Cunt is the one that comes to mind the most. It's just a much stronger word in the United States for whatever reason, Puritans. So that I think is part of the puzzle too, when you're choosing to put swear words in your text, in your script for TV, who's going to be watching and how is it going to affect them? Because you can cunt all over London and no one's going to do you harm. Whereas if you cunt all over Boston, someone is going to not serve you at brunch.
Right, okay. Okay, well, so that
Patty,
being the case.
Wait, sorry, Patty's trying to make a point, but we can't hear her. Can you lift up your laptop maybe? I'm not sure where your mic is, but I think it might be covered.
Okay, how's this?
There you go.
That's better.
Okay, all right. It's tough to get a word in edgewise here. Shakespeare also hid a lot of his cuss words, like zounds. He was talking about the wounds of Christ and that sort of thing. So I like to also in my writing disguise things, but not nearly as cleverly. By Lucifer's bloated cock, you might hear out of an angel's mouth or something like that. Or Emwald was something I used in Star Wars to try to fool my editor. It was actually blow me spelled backwards. But didn't catch anything else, but he caught me on that one. So I had to edit it a little bit. So yeah, you have a really good time with just changing some of things up. And there was another expletive, Shakespeare, I can, thank him for that. It was something about the virgin's panties, but I sort of forget how I used it. So very veiledly or obviously disguised, disgusting, horrible cuss words.
Nice.
I'm gonna have to know which editor at Star Wars that was when we get backstage later, because I bet I know him. I bet I know who that was.
Okay, so I think obviously you made a lot of good points there, and sort of talking about the idea that, especially like the Deadwood idea, and what Sarah and what Rob, you were saying about kind of the way things have changed or what we've decided is bad. You sometimes get sort of people sort of say that they're unimpressed by some of the made up swear words in fantasy books. I was doing a little bit of reading on Reddit before this, which was probably dangerous in general, but I think one of the ones I'd seen mentioned a few times was Stephen Erickson's books, where people sort of said the Fenner's teat and Hood's balls, and I think some people found that almost comedic. Like it was supposed to be like world building, but a lot of people were saying, and I haven't read that to be fair, so it's not a personal opinion, just that they found it quite comedic and they found it hard to take those swears seriously. So how do you perhaps, while still keeping that within the fantasy world you've built, but not sort of have your readers go, what? I think that's the way I would like to phrase that. So Virginia, do you want to jump in on that?
Sure. I mean, I don't do too much made up swearing in my own books. I do a little bit that's world buildy. One of my characters swears by Tanuki's sweaty balls in the latest book, which is, I don't know if y'all have ever seen a Tanuki statue, but very, very prominent feature.
I'm certainly imagining it now.
Yeah, like no, anyone should just go look it up. It's hilarious. So Tanukis themselves are these little like raccoon creatures. They look like normal, like they're called raccoon dogs. I think they're somewhere between like a red panda and a raccoon, and they're adorable. But for some reason, the god Tanuki has an absolutely ginormous set of nuts. And like every single statue of him, he's this very happy, rotund Tanuki holding a bottle of sake, and his ginormous balls are like right out in front, just like hanging out. And it doesn't matter what he's wearing, those are always at the forefront. It's kind of amazing. And so you'll see these statues around different places in Japan on street corners and stuff. Anyway, that's a whole thing. And so I decided that one of the ways this character could swear in a way that was world related, but also not, but also meant to be humorous. And that's the thing, is like, I'm trying to get a laugh out of readers with this. By Tanuki's sweaty balls, like that just sounds funny. So if I were trying to do that and have those be really serious moments, I don't think that would work. Like she says that and it's meant to make the reader laugh. When it's more serious, I have her actually curse in Japanese, which is much harder. Because Japanese doesn't actually have very many curse words. There's kuso, which is like as close as you're going to get to fuck, but it's still not, that's not what it means at all. Really, like the way your invective in Japanese is referring to someone very impolitely. And which just seems kind of funny, but that's like if you want to like, you son of a bitch is not you son of a bitch. It's just you, informal, plural. Oh my God! Is like you absolute son of a motherfucking whore, but it's not. It's just like you informally to someone, and that is incredibly rude.
That's hilarious.
So that's that's how you curse in Japanese. So then I can I throw that in, and sometimes I just have her say fuck because I'm like that's what's called for, and it, as long as it's not.
Sometimes fuck is just called for.
Sometimes fuck is just what's called for.
Yeah.
But I know I've got a good friend who wrote a book who filled it with. He came up with these really creative world-based swears, and some people are fine with it and other people tear it to shreds in reviews. And it's just you can never please everyone. So you got to just do it.
No, well, that's certainly true.
Well, I think some work and some don't. I mean, if you look at True Blood, you see Fangbanger, which they use to describe the people who are having sex with vampires. And that just works. It just makes sense. It's not something you can pull apart. But you look at like the first Battlestar Galactica, which was based on Roman mythology, and they should say something by Zeus or whatever, but they came up with Felgercarb, which is a swear word they used for bullshit, which where did that come from? No one knows. So it just doesn't have any teeth.
Yeah. Do you think though that, Rob, that Fangbanger works because that's an urban fantasy, and like you could use and it obviously rhymes with like gangbanger or whatever, the kind of connotation is already there for people, and so it worked. It's just a little step further as opposed to a complete fantasy world where that wouldn't be as relevant.
I think I think swearing is based on a lot of things, and I think origin swears work better. Like Fangbanger works, or Skin Job works, or Tank for Space Above and Beyond, or like Sispawn or Muties or Muggle or Mudblood. I think that kind of stuff works a lot better than coming up with an expletive. Coming up with a fuck or a frack, or because like the second Battlestar Galactica used frack. The idea that if you're a fracking idiot and you're frack this and frack that, and what Mork and Mindy was Shazbot, right? They used Shazbot for like shit, and then
I'd forgotten that one.
Yeah, and then there was like Patak and Klingon and things like that, and some of it I think Patak works, but I think a lot of those just kind of like off the cuff kind of it's so obviously a cover for fuck or shit that everybody knows, but Fangbanger or Skin Job is very specific to the universe that it's being used in.
I mean, all the Klingon swears work because of the way they invented the Klingon language to sound, right? Doha! Like, that someone has just told you to fuck off when they doha you, right? Like, there is no question when you are being cursed at in Klingon, like, what that person means. Meanwhile, over in Star Wars land, you're going to get criffed and stanged to death and you're not going to feel it. You're like, oh, criff you right back. I don't care. Corellia was weak. They fell to the Empire.
Arguably, though, someone could be reading you a love sonnet in Klingon and you might think you were getting sworn at.
Exactly.
Did you know that actually the Klingon is based on Glaswegian accents?
I did know that, but only because I am a big Star Wars nerd. Something I did actually to create in-universe swears that work is a lot like what Sarah did. I permeated this world, one of the cultures in particular, with a specific religion. And then I sort of turned to English because it is my first language and went, okay, how do I parallel swears that belonged against Christianity and put them into this world? So like if someone says the Queen's actual first name, like, she is the principal deity of this religion, and if you say her name out loud, that's like going, Jesus motherfucking Christ. Yeah. Like, oh, somebody just said Queen Salian, we got to back up. And like, what in the seven hells is this? Like, it's very clear there are seven hells in this religion, and it's the same as saying what in the hell, only now it's in universe. That's all in a book that we're hoping to get out on sub this year. So like everybody cross your fingers to get to hear all my in-universe swear words soon. But I think that is derivative swears of an in-universe religion. I mean, I'm not saying that's doing it on easy mode, but it is a good way to do it in a way that the readers will like connect through swear words they already understand and grok that the person is cussing without you having to put fuck on the page, so you can save fuck for when you really need it. Like, they need a fuck right now. They need a strong word right now, but the story doesn't. Like, the story doesn't need them to use the word the audience will react to that strongly until it escalates again or further or differently.
So you don't want to get to the point where all fucks have been given when you really need one.
Yes. Yeah,
that was my point earlier. Like, I like to save like words that my readers are going to recognize as really bad swear words for the moment you really need them, or you want to emphasize this particular action or moment or whatever the person's saying it, like how shocked they are or whatever.
And we shouldn't discount bodily functions for making wonderful swear words. My mother is Southern, and her favorite phrase for diarrhea is "you have the bots." Do you have the bots?
I like the.
You were to say that to her, she would just start to giggle because she just thinks that's the funniest thing. And in one scene, my characters have seen the Leviathan, which is this 300-mile long creature. And it's like in their face. And the one angel talks about wetting himself or shitting himself. So he says, my God, you've given me the dods. And what God actually means in Enochian means to vex, because when you have diarrhea, you're vexed. So bodily functions always come in so handy.
I always thought it was funny in The Grapes of Wrath when they talk about the kids getting the skitters.
Yes.
they ate the underripe peaches, like, hey, I got the skitters. It's like, I just thought
It's
it was
almost
hilarious.
kind of onomatopoeic though, isn't it? If you had like a really upset stomach, it could be. Okay. I think we've sort of talked about a little bit of this. I touched on it before, Sarah, but like the divide between countries on the acceptability of swearing. I mean, obviously said, you know, you can cunt in London, but not in Boston. But, you know, is that kind of true of the readership and perhaps of the publishing houses as well? Sarah? If you don't, you can pass, and then Patty's going to get it if you don't know.
I'll say one thing I have to say about that is I got a review once a long time ago, something that's yet to be published, and my main character, one of her quirks was that she swore a lot, and the reviewer was like, I just don't think it just doesn't seem right that the main character, who's this powerful person, the hero of the story, should swear so much. And they found, and I assume it was an American, reviewer or whatever. And I was just like, why? It's like, I just thought it was really strange that they thought maybe it was because she was a woman, or you know, whatever it was. But they just found it really offensive that someone who was the hero would swear a lot. And I think that is definitely an American thing. Like,
well, we've established things that heroes do and don't.
Right,
heroes don't swear, and they don't go down on women.
Like
I call shenanigans.
Saying language.
Total
exactly.
shenanigans.
They absolutely do. I'm writing a
I know,
right
but
now,
the whole
and
Batman
I
thing, like, heroes don't do that. Yeah.
Right.
And they also cry.
He's actually quite good at it.
We need a crying cunnilingus enacting swearing protatatist. Of all genders. We just
I like everything you just said.
It's all that happened at once. Is they're crying while the cunnilingus is going on. weeping at the
that's
gate.
an awkward one. If it's cheers of
To
joy,
each their own.
yes, but I mean, if they're weeping uncontrollably, I think that could be off-putting.
Bad.
You know,
that's a whole different story then.
I mean, if it's good enough, his partner's not going to notice.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the thing that was in my head there. Moving on. Patty, so a lot of people do say, and I keep saying a lot of people, but it's phrases or common sayings that swearing is a sign of a low intellect. Science does in fact say otherwise, and there are proven links between fluency in language and fluency in swearing. If a book has its own language but the characters speak in a common tongue, do you think that you could then say, well, them saying fuck actually says they're more intelligent because they're fluent in so many different languages to swear in?
I find it to be a sign of high intelligence because it means that you're open to what is happening and you're open to the flow of what is happening to the world. People who don't want to swear are repressed, and they're the ones that don't do anything with cunnilingus, and that's why his wife's walking out on him and going down to the baker because he's got good fingers and other things. Just saying. So people are just more open to the flow of things that are going on when profanity is like your second language. And again, we know who those repressed people are. They have to fart through a cocktail straw, and they're no fun to be around. You guys, I am preaching to the choir. I'm preaching to the choir because you feel what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, I just don't want to stop you, to be honest.
I will sit here and just listen to Patty for the rest of the panel. That's cool. I'm down.
No, I need her. I'm gonna write letters to all my other conventions and make sure that she's on every panel with me. Hold.
Oh man.
I'm just picturing someone farting through a straw now, so I can't.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm stuck on, and I really couldn't
know who they are. You have a friend that if they have to pass the gas, they need a cocktail straw. Or they're gonna blow. You just know it. And then those of us who are just real to the world, you're like, did you just pass a? Yeah. Could you at least let me know so I can put the window down? Thank you.
It's only polite.
It's only polite.
Okay. Amanda, okay, what do you think about the link then between, you know, intelligence and swearing.
Oh, I do.
And how you use
I
it with your
agree
characters as
with
well. If you want.
science. And I mean that across the board. But no,
Yep.
I do. I actually really agree with Patty on this point in a way that I'm not going to say the words she just said, because of words that I am actually uncomfortable articulating. Words related to bodily functions are those. And it is because I was raised in the country club South, where we don't talk about those things. So sometimes I can get it on the page better than I can get it out of my own mouth. And I have found people who are more free with their language as it relates to their own body, as it relates to sexual function, as it relates to the world at large, do tend to be more open, more intelligent, and a lot more emotionally intelligent people. And sometimes you can use that willingness to say, shut the damn door, or you're going too fucking fast, as a barometer for the kind of person you're dealing with. Someone who is willing and open to use the entire gamut of their vocabulary is probably someone who is an emotionally honest person and who is being a genuine person in that moment. And I honestly find people who swear be a little more trustworthy than people who mind their language and mind their tongue to try and be as inoffensive as possible to as many people as possible. Those people tend to be a little tricky.
Bless your heart, Amanda. Bless your heart.
Yes.
Oh, did you just say that in the Southern?
Them's fighting words.
Ouch.
Okay. Right. I'm going to continue with the science then and come to Rob for a wee second and then Virginia. So science has shown that swearing can act as pain relief. I think we've all probably heard the seen the experiments where, you know, people are asked to keep their hand in cold water. One group can swear, one group can't. The ones that are allowed to shit, bollocks, fuck, arse, cunting, arse, holing, bitch, fucker, arse can keep their hand. I'm a fan of the run-on swear. We'll come to those later and see if we can do a nice round robin before we finish. That would be nice. It may or may not work. We'll see how we get on. You know, if they can continually just keep going with that, they can keep their hands in the ice water for much, much longer. Okay. So do you think that being the case is, if you get to an emotional moment or a pain moment, are you going to increase the swearing, and how would that change to a moment where they were angry or just, I don't know, wanting to say fuck?
Well, one of the things that when I teach creative writing with high school students, they always ask me, "Can I swear in this?" And I say, you know, I usually say, yeah, you know, because if you get shot, you're not going to say phooey. You know, if you get hit in the head, you're not going to say darn. You're going to, you know, release an expletive because it's a pain response. So I think, you know, the result of that, you know, if you're not someone who habitually swears, and, you know, and I've met people like this, the only time that they do swear is when they hurt themselves. You know, they let out a shit or a Jesus Christ or whatever. That's what that works for them. It's a solve, you know, it makes them feel better. So I think that's probably true. I think there's the evidence is there. And I think the reason is, you know, it's a word that they've held back in reserve for those explicit moments when there's nothing else to say except, you know, the shortest prayer in the human language, which is fuck it, you know, they just let it go, fuck it. And then they kind of go from there. So,
okay. And would you use a slightly different expletive to if somebody was angry, to if they were in pain? Do you think, or do you kind of find it interchangeable?
I think that the different. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about Patty with her insults and the intelligence. You know, if you're dumb, if you're a kid, you call someone a stupid face, or you call someone. You know, something like that. That's a kid swear word, a stupid face. It takes someone with some brightness, you know, to come up with, you know, you're so tight you'd fart through a cocktail straw. You know, that takes a certain amount of, you know, eloquence and intelligence, and those are the cuts that really hurt, right? As opposed to, you know, me calling you a dumb stupid face, because it just, you know, that's all the vocabulary I have. You know?
Okay, good. Okay, Virginia, what do you think?
As someone who was in labor for about 72 hours,
Ugh.
abso-fucking-lutely.
Fuck that.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, like, I mean, it 100% is a salve at times. Yeah, my struggle with it was always like, I taught high school for a long time, and I, you're not supposed to swear in front of your students, and I always found that just disingenuous. And like, I taught at boarding schools, and so we were a little bit less strict about that because, or at least at the last school I taught at, because the final school I taught at was like very chill about the fact that, like, yeah, your teachers are humans. We're all living on the same campus. You're going to see them outside of class, and guess what? They swear. In fact, every high school teacher I know swears about more than just about anybody else. I think when you bottle it up for a little while in class, then it just like all comes out. Like, there's no more curse-filled party than a teacher party, faculty party. But and really inventive cursing as well. And so yeah, I think it's a human thing, but like where it would often come out is if I did hurt myself in front of students, I would definitely God fucking damn,
yeah.
And of course then, there's like mildly shocked, but also like, okay. But I don't say, like, I swore in class occasionally when shit got heavy. Like, we would talk about some really, I taught Spanish, so, for the most part, not a ton of stuff came up, but occasionally we talk about cultural issues that were really, a big deal. And sometimes I would swear when talking about how fucked up things were, like, and I think, I think that's just honest. And I think the students actually appreciated that. And certainly it's not like, anybody who thinks that a high school teacher is teaching high school students swear words doesn't know how many swear words.
Yeah, they know it on their own.
Get there, right? Like, it's not like I wasn't teaching them shit. They were teaching me a lot. But yeah, so it's one of those things. We have a weird culture around it. And it's interesting too. Like, I have a 5-year-old. I'm really bad about not swearing in front of her. And but instead I've had to have talks with her because she like repeats me. And the first time she repeated me and said fuck, I was like, okay, we need to now have a talk about context, because you don't know what this word means. I cannot currently reasonably, because she was like 3, explain to you the context of this word. But what I'll say is that if you say this word in front of certain people, they will be very upset. And if you say it in front of other people, they won't care. I don't care. But if you say it in front of Grammy and Grandpa, they might be upset. And if you say it in front of your teachers at school, they might be upset. And so, and I told her that. And the thing is, like, because we've always had that sort of relationship, she just doesn't say it in front of them. And she still says it in front of me sometimes, and I chuckle. But anyway, that's a whole other ball of wax. But I do think that it's more of an honesty thing. And it also, yes, is very cathartic at times.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else to add before I move on to the next question?
I was going to say one thing about kids swearing, because I have a son, and he learned all his swear words from me, not from school. And what cracks me up about him is that he will unleash vitriol like you can't even imagine when he's on his computer upstairs playing his video games. Like, the things he says to people, I'm just like, holy shit. But he does not swear in front of me. That's the thing that cracks me up. Like, he does not say a single swear word in front of me. So I don't know. I just wanted to add that because I think it's hilarious. And he doesn't swear at school in front of his teachers or at anybody else. But like upstairs, I can hear every word.
We told my 8-year-old he would have to like independently find those words and know what they mean and be able to tell us what they mean before we will bless the use of them. So he reads now specifically to like try to find the words that are going to trigger us. But back to like the original question, as far as like when the swear words come out when you're in pain or in danger, and is that going to be the same reaction as when you are angry? I have chronic pain. I have chronic illness. I've also had some serious injuries around the course of my life. And what I find is that I become quite inarticulate when I'm in serious and incredible pain. And so the swear words will be singular and explosive and surrounded with moans and groans and just trying to breathe through the pain when someone is in severe pain. Whereas when someone is angry, they're going to be eloquent and brilliant and sharp as a tack and well thought out, and like they're gonna cut to the bone. Whereas when someone is in extreme pain, it's gonna be fuck, oh, ow, ooh, motherfucker, ah. and far less articulate to sort of mimic that what happens to me when I'm in severe pain, which is I completely lose command of the English language and can only grunt and groan and point at what hurts.
I wish I was always articulate and brilliant when I was angry, but that definitely doesn't always happen.
I mean, me neither, but my characters are.
Okay.
Talked about
Patty.
intelligence.
Hi, Patty.
People that are being more intelligent when they use swear words. Let's talk about the other side. You know, you have a principal who was just let go in this country for reading a book about butt cracks. We all have them, you know, and he read a cute book about a boy who thought his butt was broken because it had a crack in it. He's been fired.
He's been fired for reading about butt cracks.
What?
Yes. So that just goes to show you the other side of the mentality, or I should say lack of it, a lack of intelligence.
Yeah.
The American right wing is asinine.
They are dumb fucks, basically.
And the important word
a lot of them.
in that thing was ass.
Feckless cunts, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Ignorant thunder cunts. And we'll.
Oh, I like that.
Which
Thunder
I think.
cunts.
Thunder
Always
cunt
call
is a.
us Scott when you need a creative. Oh,
Yeah.
always
And
call
which I
us
think
Scott.
answers Hala's question in the chat, which was, do we ever use the C word? Yes, we do. So that's the answer to that. Okay, here's a bit more of a sort of technical question, and I'll just throw it out there rather than sort of directing it at anyone because it's maybe an odd one. So anybody who wants to jump in, feel free to jump in. So have you ever, or would you ever use swearing in a third person POV as the narrator? I think a lot of the swearing that certainly I use comes in dialogue, or perhaps, you know, in sort of first person thought. As a narrator, I don't know that I've ever gone, and that guy was a fucking arsehole. You know, it's always in the dialogue. So has anybody used that? How do you think that might work if you did do that? So if anybody wants to jump in, if you want a wee minute, I can just recite swear words until someone's got something to say.
I think I've used in third person, but sort of close POV, like that someplace was a shithole.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've done that. And I think I've used, again, damn is my favorite. I think I've used damnable as a descriptor in the narrative. But yeah, most of it is words that are coming out of my characters' mouths. But I do think occasionally when you're in a close third person, you can get some of those lighter weight, at least in the US, lighter weight swear words into the narrative without it doing sort of any damage to what else you've got on the page.
Agreed. I just recently had a creative writing student who did not have a very close third person and said something about a dragon being a huge ass worm. And the other students commented that just seems weird, so odd that it was not in dialogue. So I think I'd probably stick to it in dialogue.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Let's give you a good example.
Or interior monologue, you know, where it's like people are thinking to themselves.
Alex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it might depend whether or not your narrator is known or unknown. You know, if I'm the person looking back at my childhood, I might drop a this and a drop of that if I'm relating the story. But.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly. I was gonna say, certainly with a first person POV, I like the character who is my sweariest character absolutely swears in first person narrative.
Yeah.
But I think I can't remember well enough, but yeah, with a close third person, I think you could definitely get away with it, but it would have to be very clear that it was that voice.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the most unique ways then that swearing is used in science fiction, fantasy, horror books? So, for example, I don't know if anyone's read Piers Anthony Xanth books. So the swearing, the sort of symbol swearing is part of the plot, and actual curse words cause curses to happen.
Okay.
So things that you kind of say is kind of part of the plot and is part of the world. And I just thought that was a really kind of clever idea. So is there anything else that anyone can think of that kind of thought, I love the way swearing was used there, or like in Patty's book, you know, with her Enochian, and is it Enochian? Is that how you pronounce that? Enochian, sorry. You know, and it was good. I like the fact that you had the the words at the end. It's like, oh, good, that's what that word means, and I could go and check it later, and I like that. So anything that you thought just, oh, that's really unique, I like how this worked, what they did was just, it really sort of made the book interesting for you. While you're thinking, I'm going to have a quick look at the chat.
I mean, I can take it back to television and once again call on Star Trek, and when they have had, particularly prior to Star Trek Discovery, when they've had full-on arguments in Klingon and don't translate them on screen and you don't get the subtitle, you still know what's going on. And I really do enjoy when two people can have an argument in a language literally nobody speaks. Well, at the time, nobody spoke it fluently. Now there are people that you completely understand the context, even though you don't understand the words. And that can also be done in books, although it is harder because it needs to be a third party character overhearing two people and trying to parse what is happening in a language that neither the character nor the reader is going to understand. So that is super hard to do. But in screenwriting and in comics writing, when you've got the visual also to take the rest of the cues from, having swear words in made up languages, having swear words in complete gibberish, or like Qbert, where it's all just weird symbols above, or Donald Duck, where you cannot understand a blessed word of what he's saying, but you know. I really like those moments where like this got really creative and it's all shit, fuck, damn, fuck, shit, cunt, fuck, but that's not actually what we're hearing.
Right.
What you meant was
That was good.
Well done.
Very good.
That was a super solid Donald Duck, I gotta say.
It would be interesting to me to see a magic system that incorporated swearing as part of it. Like if you could only like use the magic when you're really passionate about it, and the more you swore habitually, the less powerful your spells would be. It'd be kind of an interesting thing to kind of play with. I read
Stealing
a
that
book
for a role play game. Stealing it for a role play game.
Oh, yeah,
Stolen.
But I read a book recently, and it was a sci-fi book, and they were using swearing as computer code words, and they had to come up with a line of swearing that no one had ever used before in order to unlock a door. So they had to come up with a different string of swearing that was grammatically correct in order to unlock a door. I thought that was kind of a fun idea.
Cool.
It does make it difficult though, doesn't it? Because like, you know, the word fuck or fucking can be a verb, it can be an adjective, it can be a noun. I mean, how do you know when you're using it grammatically correctly? It's so versatile.
It's true.
So I mean, that would be a hard door to get through. I mean, that's kind of like, you know, 10th level, you know, D&D gaming right there. Okay, anybody got anything to add, Patty or Sarah?
No, because that's a difficult one. And I usually don't play mage types. I did play with the gal that used to use swear words as a druid, and they were usually nature-based, and I was amazed at how she was able to come up with the semantics for her spells.
I'm gonna have to steal that for our next D&D campaign.
Yeah,
Pam, please remind me.
I will remind you, yeah. I mean, usually you're reminding me quite a lot when we play D&D because I suck, but you know, so I know playing with me is like trying to teach a 2-year-old to do anything.
It is not. It's like trying to teach an adult how to play Dungeons and Dragons. It takes.
Does anybody know anything about a death curse?
Best
So I literally shouted that every place we went for about 2 full games because I don't really know how to play, but they're very patient and lovely with me. Okay. Someone sort of talked about, you know, gestures as a form of swearing and writing too, flipping the bird lewd gestures, and the chat sort of saying that can be quite hard to do in world building. So does anybody have any kind of thoughts on how they incorporate that, or if they invented a gesture? You know, if you guys are fans of Friends, you'll remember the whole thing that Ross and Rachel did. Is anybody got anything working on that front?
Gestures, like say they made the sign of whatever, like as a curse or as a blessing or whatnot, but I'm like, I don't go to great lengths to describe it, just to give the, you know, just the sense of, because we all know what rude gestures are and things like that. So sometimes it's better to just leave it up to the readers to kind of fill in that rather than going, oh, he lifted his finger and twisted it around and did this and that, because that kind of pulls you right out of it. It's like, I don't need to know every motion of everything. Yeah.
Right. And maybe it's a multimedia experience. Maybe it's just hopeful, but sometimes you want to save those things for the TV producers so they can come up with those like in the writer's room after you've been optioned. So there you go. I just say she made a rude gesture, and for the low price of a $10,000 a year renewing option, you can come up with what that gesture is.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, next time I can't be bothered thinking what the gesture is, I'm just going to be like, yeah, I'm saving myself for the movie rights.
Yeah.
I'm totally taking that. Okay, anybody else? Virginia, Patty, want to jump in on the swearing or a gesture?
Well, my father always said, you will know a Mason by the way he talks, by the way he stands, and by the way he walks. But he never got into any of those gestures or anything like that. And when you talk about like Frank Herbert's Dune, the Bene Gesserit, they had his whole language with just hand gestures. He didn't go through any description of that. That was the heavy lifting that was left to the reader in their imagination. So I very much agree with what Sarah was saying.
Okay, good. All right, let's see if there's anything else to chat. We've got a few minutes left. No, okay, there's nothing else to ask you in the chat. So there was one other question. Okay, so this is I'm probably bringing it in at the last minute. Here's a bit short, but we sort of talked to the idea about what is considered profane in an SFF setting. If there's gods in your world, would anybody dare swear by them? Is that likely to see them struck down with a thunderbolt, or have something awful happen to them? If the culture is fully sex positive and gender equal, again, how does that influence what the insults are going to be? I mean, I remember, and someone in school, you'd say, oh, that's pure gay. Like it was a bad thing, and it was a horror. And when I was younger, you didn't really think anything of it. And as you get older, you just think, oh, that's just horrible, and to be honest, I'm glad to say it's fallen out of popularity as an insult, because it's just not anyway. But yeah, so you do see that change. So how does that influence then the sort of the religion of your world, or the sort of the equality of your world? How much does that then influence what's an insult and what isn't?
Well, there's a reason why goddamn doesn't blow people's minds anymore, because we become a more secular society. Some other places you can't show the picture of the prophet without causing some kind of major issue. So it depends on, if you have a sci-fi world that is an atheist world, there's no religion to lie on. And if there's no sex positive, if sex positive is a thing, and they've gotten rid of most of the prejudice and this kind of stuff, then what is left to swear on or swear by, other than bodily functions and smeg and poodoo and whatever it is that you want to say? So that's an interesting question.
Do we have an interesting answer? No, that was really good. But does anybody feel strongly about it in their world? I mean, it's a difficult one, and Rob's right. It does, you can't kind of go, you goddamn asshole, if it's a world that didn't have gods.
Right.
Because you still use assholes. We still have assholes.
Yeah, everybody's
always good.
But if it's a science fiction, do they all have assholes?
It's true.
All right. No.
You asked.
Face hole? I don't know.
It's interesting because, like, you wonder if you get into a world that is lacking in patriarchy and colonialism, delightful world that would be. Then what do you like? Is it suddenly is like liar, like the worst is a word for someone who doesn't respect bodily consent? The worst thing you can come up with, and like, what do you know, like?
Yeah. That's a good one.
Right, yeah.
That's a good thing.
I also use some names of plants that smell bad, or pests that eat your crops and like could lead to famine. So you can also look to the natural world. Like in most English speaking cultures, you can call somebody a fucking snake, and you kind of know what you're calling them. You can call somebody a stink bug, and like that has some meaning. So you can draw on the natural world of your sci-fi world also, and that can increase your world building by including in your lexicon things that exist only in your second world that are drawn upon to be insults.
Nice.
Yeah.
Or going on something from another culture in particular, there was an angel, the angel of pestilence, who wanted to give crabs to someone because she specialized in STDs, and she didn't call them crabs. She basically said, you know, well, tonight he's going to get a visit from some crotch crickets, which I just thought was hilarious.
That is fucking hilarious.
Just looking at what other cultures can call something, or what it used to be called back in the day, can also give you some really good fodder for your book.
Yeah.
Pestilence is hilarious. I
Bed
like
bugs upon you would be like a horrible curse. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she is funny. It's the kind of like, you know, you feeling okay? Yeah, give it time. She just responds out. It's like so much attitude. It's brilliant. But yeah, that's an interesting one, sort of animals and plants. Although I did see, not I really watch daytime TV very often, but it was actually some program talking about asking people not to use animals as insults because the animals were offended by it. And I'm kind of like, I think, you know, that might be a step too far. You know, I mean, I like snakes, I like pigs, I like skunks. I mean, I don't want to spray me or anything, but, you know, it's like I don't have anything inherently against any of these animals, but it might be a thing. I know, I think, is it RJ gets quite upset when people say bad things about weasels?
Might be. That sounds...
I'm sure I remember him doing something at a
plausible.
conference. You know, it's like, you know, more positive representation of weasels.
That's fair. I mean, the thing that I get really upset that wolves get used all the time as like this evil animal that's gonna attack you in the woods when that never happens. I get really mad about it. Sorry. I've worked with wolves for a long time. I can't. Oh, you're right. It is a swearing panel. I really fucking hate it when people use wolves as like the bad animal. Like, they're the most loyal, sweet, loving animals. They're super intelligent. They look out for each other. And I freaking hate, like, humans would be way better if we acted more like wolves. So I
don't
really
have a whole alpha thing. That's not really a thing in wolves either.
They don't.
No, it's not.
If there, whatever version of alpha is left, like, leaders in wolf communities take care of all the other wolves, like, really genuinely and caringly and lovingly. So, like, the idea that it would be some like macho dude is absolutely fucking off. It's like your Aunt Tilda who always has tissues in her bag. That's the alpha wolf. Like, that's like, I don't know, sorry, that was random, but like, and hope, like, ideally that's also a dude too, right? Like, everybody, all genders should be able to take on that role of caring for everybody in their pack. That is brilliant. And sorry, so I get really worked up about this. But in terms of like,
I never knew that your trigger point was going to be wolves.
It's wolves.
No, I agree. It pisses me off too when people call themselves alphas and they talk about wolves.
Yeah, do you know why? Because it's going into the whole
it's just not the way
fantasy werewolf thing. Is the kind of alpha werewolf male, and that's just getting kind of continually rehashed. And yeah, it's just bullshit, isn't it?
You know how long it took me to even know that's what they were talking about, though, because I understood that, like, in wolf society that was baloney, and so like I was like, what fraternity are we referring to? I just thought they were saying they were Greek in college, and I'm like, why does this matter?
No, it's chickens. Pecking order. We should compare alpha werewolves to the top chicken.
They are the cock of the walk.
The cock of the walk. They're the assholes.
Yeah, still assholes.
Anyway,
wake everybody up, and they're too damn loud.
Think of the wolves.
How did I start that question?
You were asking about like using snake or whatever as an insult, and then like that. I was saying,
are you sure it wasn't more intelligent a question than that?
It was to dovetail off of what I said about how if you got to come up with made up insults without religion or patriarchy. I was like, something that smells bad, something that's dirty, that's fictional in your world. Like, call somebody a stink bug, call somebody the second world equivalent of a cockroach.
Mosquitoes are the worst.
Or schmeg, or toe jam, or belly button lint.
Belly button lint, that is nasty.
Yeah, butt crumbs.
Mosquitoes are really important, though.
Quad or
toilet residue. I don't know. There's got to be some good. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. What was the guy who Matt Savage, the politician Matt Savage went after, and I can't remember what his name is, but he managed to make his name synonymous with the combination of fecal matter, semen, and lube that results after anal sex.
Santorum.
Yeah. So every time
Santorum.
Oh,
Look out for
perfect.
Nick
That's
Benson now.
great.
I can't believe I'm the one that knew that. Like,
He's from Pennsylvania.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God, that's perfect.
So his name is kind of has become a swear word, which is good because he's awful.
He's
He
Yeah.
is.
I think sometimes that, as you say, those kind of things just really, I don't know. I'm trying to get his picture up, sorry. Oh, that's not working. Yeah, you know, it's kind of sort of bringing them down to that level just kind of really says what we think about them. And in that line, I have a picture to share. Can I share my screen,
I think so.
Virginia?
Yeah, I think I have the settings, but let me just double check.
Over.
No, here. Okay, you should be good now.
So this, I'm confident here that everybody doesn't like Donald Trump. Is that a fair statement?
that's a really, really mild way of putting that.
Very
Yes,
mild.
I'm leaving it to one of my compatriots on Donald Trump's visit to Scotland when his helicopter landed at his
Oh my God, that was
at his golf course. This was the welcome. And I'll let you just enjoy that for a moment. And the fact that the police are like, yeah, high five. Is a moment that will just, for me, always be precious.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of thing really sums up, like that kind of swear really sums up how much you dislike somebody.
Sometimes the swear word is the right word.
It's the only word.
Very
Sometimes.
succinct. It's to the point.
Okay, so I'm aware we're slightly running over time here. I know that there's nothing until 10:30.
Nothing until half past. Yeah.
Nothing until 10:30. Okay, but what I would like to do then is just have everybody summarize, I suppose, key advice for a new author on writing swearing into their books. What's the risk? What's the benefit? Sarah, you want to
Well,
start?
the risk is having somebody tell you your main character swears too much and readers are going to be turned off. And I say, just fucking go with whatever you feel works for your characters or your characters. And in this, I mean, don't be put off by saying too many swear words, I would think. I mean, your editors might, cut those down at some point, but when you first draft, just do whatever fucking comes naturally to you, put it out there on the page. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Amanda?
I think just be thoughtful about who your character is, where they're from, what their cultural background is, and make a decision based on class and experience and who they are and where they are in their life, how much to have them swear or not, and when and where and why to have them swear and not, and put that together as a compelling part of a complete character package, and then listen to your editors. If sometimes you might get told, this is a person who swears and therefore I don't think you have them swearing often enough. Maybe you're going to fold some more oaths in, some more expletives in when these other intense moments happen. And then sometimes they may ask you to roll it back a little so that the swear words have more impact when they come. So it's really trust your gut, trust your character as you have come to know them, and then trust your editorial team. They are also professionals and they will help you shape your story into what's going to be the best version of itself.
Can I do a little aside there? Sorry, because you just raised a point that interests me. Has anyone's editor ever told them they do need more swearing?
I may have gotten that note.
You know what? You need a few extra fucks in there and definitely put a cunt there. I actually would just love if anybody had that story. I
think I got it in a line edit in a couple of places. Like, okay. You could have her say fuck here. You could have her swear more. I do think, again, this is a character who will call somebody a pusillanimous cretin to their face. So sometimes it was like, or you could use an ordinary rude word.
Okay. Rob?
What Amanda said, she was perfect.
Yeah. That was good. Much more eloquent.
Okay. Patty?
My rules are just basically, if you're doing it for shock value, then you probably should not be doing it. Right. If the character is really pissed off and means something about what they're saying, then go ahead and do it. I just want people to be more inventive with their swearing. Don't just call somebody a cunt. Make it mean something. Call them a bleeding cunt. There you go.
Noise.
So if you can, just really harden the insult and just really make it burn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fair.
Liking it. Okay, Virginia?
Characters are people, or they're supposed to be. I mean, even if they're not humans, they're supposed to be people. So have them be people, and different people have different levels of swearing, and just be true to them. I mean, I feel like this covers just about everything in writing. Like if your character is an actual person, they got their reasons for doing stuff and not doing stuff, and that includes cursing. So let them fucking rip if they need to.
Robot swearing.
Robots might swear too. It's down to the character. Are they programmed for it? Is it part of their interface that makes them seem more human? What is come up with a backstory. Do they need to fucking swear or not?
They did that with Data in Star Trek. He put a swearing program in, and it was hilarious.
So
that kind of stuff is really funny.
Well, and then you've got like R2-D2 and Chopper in Star Wars. Like they are not swearing in an intelligible language, but we know. We know.
Good point. Yeah.
That is an excellent point. R2-D2 swears like crazy.
All the time.
Like a Marine.
Yeah.
Guys ever
Like a
seen
mechanic.
That, yes. You guys ever seen that Flight of the Conchords song, The Humans Are Dead?
No, but I've seen their other stuff.
Yeah, you should watch that. It's just it's really funny, sort of talking about they've killed off all the humans. It's the robot song, and it just sort of made me think of something that's so specific to robots, because in the middle they do this binary solo. They just go 0000001 0000001, and I just kind of have this idea that if you made like robots swear in binary code or something, that would just be a brilliant way to kind of put that into a book somewhere.
I'm married to a computer engineer, and I am fixing to make him write me out some like really strong swear words in binary, just as a thought exercise.
Yeah, and then our next book, we're going to see it, and we're all going to be like checking binary code to know exactly what that robot said. Okay, well, thank you so much, guys. I think that's been a really good discussion, and I think it's given me a lot to think about in terms of the culture, that the religions of the book, the world building, whether it's modern, whether it's urban fantasy, whether the world creation idea of it. And I think, as I say, what people have said here, like make it creative, make it fit the narrative, and make it fit your characters. I think that's absolutely right. Okay, and I'd like everybody, if they want to, before we close up, to do any last comments or plugs of their work or anything that they would like to say, because you've all been amazing, and it's a brave subject because not everybody feels comfortable. So I really appreciate you taking it on. So, the floor is yours if anybody has anything they would like to say.
Buy my fucking books.
Yeah.
Sorry, least creative thing I can do.
Yeah.
Dang, buy everybody's fucking books.
Yeah,
buy their fucking books.
All the fucking books.
And follow me on my goddamn social media channels.
Yep.
Yeah.
Follow us on our fucking social media channels.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
I just got a fucking TikTok, and it's wild.
Oh God, I'm not even brave enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just like, no. I've seen some of the stuff, and I'm just like, hell no. Just like, no.
But yeah, buy everyone's books. Buy them.
Right.
Buy everyone's fucking books.
Buy
Check out our fucking book sale. Yeah, that.
Have a fucking great con.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the con. Coming up is neurodiversity at midnight, or 1 hour and 47 minutes from whatever time it is you are now.
And there's also a reading with Levi.
I was getting to it, for fuck's sake.
Like some of us didn't get a
I'm
reading.
so
this
fucking
time,
sorry.
so-
Yeah. Blame the scheduler. Oh, that's me.
Oh, that's you.
It's like,
That's a universal gesture.
All right.
an itch.
Look,
So,
your tech
yeah,
person's about to cut you off.
Yeah.
All right.
That's you.
I have
to
the
put up,
power.
but this is why I swear so much, because it's the pain I'm in. It's the pain.
Pain.
So anyway, we have readings from Levi Jacobs and Neil Williamson, and then later on Jeremy Goebel, Jessica Forrest, and Scott Kuhn as well. And we have a workshop, I believe, with Krithika H. Rao on plotting perfect first drafts. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. And peace, fuckers. Wave to the nice people.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, into